Let me take this for 1 second. All right. All right, happy Friday, everybody. Now, before we get started, we just put in the comment section VV for VectorVest appropriately. If you can hear me, if you can see me. Now, who's happy that it is Friday? I swear this week went by really quick. I can't believe it's already Friday. But we'll give everyone a moment to make their way into the room. The alert should be hitting probably the next 30 seconds. We'll give everyone just a few to make their way into the room. I do have an announcement before we get too far into the game. Troy says, thank God it's Friday. VV Nation. Yes, thank God it's Friday. I definitely am happy for the weekend coming up. Hopefully all of you are as well. And the markets, a little bit of a stall, but nothing too crazy. I'm not too surprised by the market wanting to take some kind of pause. Next week, big week. If you missed the live stream yesterday, was it 4 out of the 7 mag stocks are reporting? What was it? Amazon, Meta, Apple. I'm forgetting one. I forget which one I'm forgetting. But there's 4 out of the 7 next week. In addition to that, we've got an interest rate decision on Wednesday next week. And right before that interest rate decision, the GDP, second quarter GDP data comes out. So we will find out next week if we are in a recession by the measurements of GDP. Now, as far as Glenn Newton, good question. Clay, if you can, maybe put it in the comment section. But we did start a fundraiser in conjunction with his wife, with everything going on with the stroke back in June. He is in recovery. He's in a rehabilitation center. That was in the statement. But yeah, it's just go to vectorvest.com/Glenn, Glenn. And once you go to that webpage, you'll see the GoFundMe account. I know we talked about this on Monday. We're just talking about ideas. And in the comment section, a lot of people amongst VV Nation had mentioned GoFundMe. And at no surprise, the CEO here at VectorVest, along with upper management, they were able to put that together relatively quickly. So there is a way to help Glenn. It's in the comment section just below. Did the alert hit, Clay?
Yeah, it just came through.
Okay, just came through. Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's 12:02 right now. All righty. Yep, there's the viewers. Now everyone's popping in again, since a lot of people just made their way into the room. If you missed the live stream yesterday, I just want to put a heads up. It's in the comment section. You'll see a comment by the VectorVest admin there. A link to help Glenn. I know on Monday there was a lot of, not just Monday, but over the past, few weeks, there's been a lot of ambition by customers and people amongst VV Nation to want to help Glenn, and this is a good way to do that. Help him and his family as he goes through this rehabilitation process. As far as any updates on the medical side things, length of time, severity, things like that, I can't provide that information, but he is, keeping his strength in the rehab facility that he's at right now. So I just wanted to put that out there. We'll start with that today. Otherwise, let's just go ahead and jump right into the mobile app here. We can see that the color guard is neutral right now. Amir, same as yesterday, same statement. I haven't even talked to him in the past 2 days. This weekend, I will reach out to Glenn. I need to go see him because last week I was at the beach. This weekend, I got a couple things to do, but yes, I'll get to Glenn. But as far as I know, he did finally get moved to the rehabilitation center, and he's just, trying to regather his strength. So I know not everyone is in a position to give. We're all in different positions in lives right now. If you are not in a position to be able to give financially, hey, that is totally fine. Glenn is definitely a believer in the power of prayer. and he would be more than happy to accept any prayers or good wishes you want to send his way. Not only him, but to his family as well. It's a whole family deal. His wife has really been a rock star. As far as managing the household, taking care of him, organizing visitors, things of that nature. I will say, kudos to her. She is just a phenomenal lady. I've gotten to meet her quite a few times over the last month or two. So that has been a pleasure. All right, now let's get into it. Everyone say their prayers for Glenn going into the weekend. You can use them. All right, let's get to it here. 3 of the major indices are in positive territory. The only thing showing weakness right now is the VectorVest Composite, but it's pretty flat. It's down 0.07%. Failing to hit the new high, right? Well, we did get a new closing high, but as far as an intraday high, we did not achieve a new intraday high. I think we're about 20 cents away from that, so we were pretty close, but we did get a new closing high for the VectorVest Composite in July. I've been talking about that really going into the month here. I wouldn't be surprised if we got a July high. And really any follow through from this high or from this pause, if we get any follow through to the upside, I have a feeling that decision is going to be made by the market next week when it comes to between the earnings, the interest rate decision, the GDP data. We'll get a much better picture of what to expect in the months ahead. I think the market in general can appreciate that data coming in. So we'll see how that data works out. We're going to play it both ways, but right now the market's taking a pause. Our market timing signals, they're all still up right now. Even the fastest moving one, the primary wave, So as long as that primary wave stays up, I'm not going to get, too bearish at all. Honestly, I'm going to, if the primary wave goes down, I'll get the wheels a turning. But to really get some confirmation, I like the DEW, especially if, your whole goal or most of your portfolio right now is just a swing trade off the most recent bottom from the tariff turmoil. I know a lot of these stocks are up big right now. So again, protect your profits, but right now the market is still rocking and rolling to the upside. All right, let's get to it here. Now let's go into the intraday charts. We got the Dow Jones here. Actually, let's do 1 year. Dow Jones, look at that, looking like resistance right at the prior highs for the Dow Jones Industrial Average. We're seeing a little bit of rejection from that over the last 2 trading sessions. Not a whole lot of rejection, but just keep that in mind. If we take a look at the NASDAQ here, you can see the NASDAQ had achieved breaking into a new high much before the Dow Jones Industrial Average or the VectorVest Composite hitting its closing high. Now, if we do see any kind of pullback on the NASDAQ, I wouldn't be surprised if it wants to retest these prior swing highs here. You're going to be around, probably around 20,000. So if any severe pullback, I would not be surprised. If we try to retest that at some point, DGIA would have hit a new high if it not for UNH. Bill, I could definitely get behind that statement. Yeah, UNH kind of ruined the rally there when it comes to the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Not going to deny that whatsoever. Now, as far as the NASDAQ this morning, I see some optimism. Or what happened to the chart there? There was a chart, right? There we go. There's the intraday chart. From 9:30 this morning, we had a little bit of liquidity grab there. We see the 3 big red candlesticks shortly followed by a bullish rally. And we're going right into the afternoon at session highs. So, again, I'm not seeing, a whole lot of concern. And honestly, the market's probably going to get pretty excited. If we can get an interest rate cut, if we don't have the recession, if the GDP data says, hey, we're not in a recession, we get an interest rate cut, and we get good earnings from the 4 out of the Mag 7 stocks next week, I see that a concoction for another little rally to the upside. But, if it turns out to the adverse effect that, hey, maybe we did get some recession data in, not so well from the GDP, we didn't get an interest rate cut, maybe one of the Mag 7 or 2 of the Mag 7 stocks I report next week miss on something or give bad guidance, it could go the other way, right? So that's why I'm saying, pay attention to what's going on next week. Obviously, I'm going to do a lot of videos throughout next week, keep you on the right side. But I see next week as a very important potential pivot point for the market. Either it's going to continue up or it's continue down based off that data. And I'm more of the mindset of let the dust settle and then see where the trend goes. Don't try. Well, you can, but and I don't want you to get burned either. Just know if you're day trading next week, if you're doing some short-term swing trades, expect some volatility between those big earnings and the economic data coming out. Bill says, heading up to Lake Ossipee for DocFest. I am not playing, but 2 bands I know are playing. John, you play in a band? What? That's pretty cool. I didn't know that. Early tax loss season? That's a fair point. Cava isn't open yet. Cava. Oh, dear. Got to get some Cava in you, right? All right. Let's get to it. We're going to take a look at the VectorVest Composite here. Currently at 74.22. Now, if we were to get a primary wave down situation, the VectorVest Composite would have to be below 73.52. And even going into next week, Monday and Tuesday is going to be playing off July 21st and July 22nd of 73.92. So we got a little bit of a buffer zone going into this data next week when it comes to the primary wave. If we get a primary wave down for a day because of hesitation or a little pause in the market, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday next week, I wouldn't be too surprised by that. But again, Mag 7 earnings could pull us right out of that primary wave down situation. So if you do see a primary wave down situation next week, just know, me personally, I'm going to look for follow through the day after the primary wave. I'm not going to respond. I'm not going to react to the day. If we get a primary, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if we get one, I'm not going to respond that day just because it could be triggered by some of the volatility with all this data and earnings coming out. John says, I play bass and keyboards. Have played bass since I was 13 and keys around 17. I also played violin, clarinet, and saxophone. When I started with the bass and keys, I gave up the other instruments. I played a little bit of piano. I took some piano lessons when I was young. But other than that, I am not musically inclined, and that's why I like to keep your viewerships. That's why I don't sing on the channel. I'm not as musically as inclined as Glenn was. Sorry to disappoint here. Now, as far as the advances, declines are winning right now, 52% to 36%, right? So just keep that in mind. But overall, still looking good in the color guard. I play on people's nerves. Rock song. That's a good one. I like that one a lot. But yeah, so that's the situation I see potentially playing out next week. We could get a primary wave down, some volatility, just because that threshold of the primary wave is going to go up. Especially on July 23rd, 74.61, that is the closing high, right? So if we fail to meet a new high, that would be Wednesday, right as that data is coming out, you could see a primary wave down flashing, all right? Could potentially close with the primary wave down. So you just want to throw that on your radar. But other than that, let's see what kind of stocks are making moves here. Let's go stock pick ideas. Let's take a look at the hot stocks. Here we've got hot stocks. Here we've got TTM Technologies. Orla Mining, kind of finding a pause here. I'm curious what Orla Mining is doing because it had the gap down yesterday. What was it? A wall collapsed in one of their mines, right? Waiting for DEW to turn neutral. Then I'm protecting profits. Hey, again, everyone's got their own signal. Me personally, I like the DEW, especially if I want to get out a little bit, sooner potentially than the confirmed call. That would be my signal, especially since the DEW has done such a great job keeping us in the trade. Even when it was like a month ago and the market was pulling back, the DPO stayed in positive territory, kept the DEW in an up signal. So just, throwing that out there that I wouldn't get too bearish until I saw a DEW signal. But again, everyone has their own, objectives or goals in mind. But here's Orla Mining here. Let's go to 1 week. The sell-off. A lot of consolidation here. I wouldn't want to get, too exuberant as far as, buying the dip here, this position, unless we enter the gap, right? Because the goal would be to enter that gap and fill the gap, right? It's a gap fill play. But right now, you could see the consolidation after the sell-off here between about $10 and $10.50, right? Now, if it breaks out to the upside of that, it's a gap fill play, right? If it breaks to the downside of that, that's not going to be good, right? That would be more bearish. So if you are in Orla, obviously, I don't know what your threshold of pain is, but at some point you got to stay disciplined just in case the stock decides to go lower or if there's more bad news out. But if this bad news can reside and the mining collapse isn't, I don't know the exact details of it, but if the details, don't hinder production, was anyone hurt in the collapse? I haven't really looked at it, but definitely look into that matter if you're going to make any decisions on Orla, because that is news related. But look at the value here. We valued at $21.64. So with the sell-off, trust me, I get the potential to, maybe want to buy the dip here. Bill says the VectorVest Composite just turned green. Excellent. I'm not too surprised by that just because we're going into this, at session highs during this live stream here. Now let's take a look, see what other hot stocks there are. The other one I want to take a look at is TTM Technologies. You can see TTM still above the 20-day simple moving average here. See, if you're wanting to get into a decent stock here, this is a good one. It's fully valued right now at $44.12. Had a nice run up to our valuation. RV above 1.3. RS, favorable rating at 1.09. So you're getting a little bit of a safety. But look for the trade setup here. If I look at the chart, look at 3 months. See if we can get a pivot off that 20-day moving average, okay? We see the cross over between the 3 and 8. The 3 just crossed below the 8 right now. TTM, hot stock, went from $20 to almost $50 in just 3 months. So if you've been in this position and you're up quite a bit, I would be of the mindset of, potentially getting defensive here relatively soon if we get any more downside action, especially if we break that 20-day. Otherwise, you can take a look at the buy rating. If we lose the buy rating, that's showing that momentum is losing as well. But right now, we still have a strong buy rating on the stock and have been for the majority of the last 3 months. So just want to put that, on your radar. This is a pretty hot stock here, pretty hot stock. AGX, I like big, solid bases. I cannot lie. I don't blame you. I like a big, solid base as well. All right, let's go to premium watch list here. Let's take a look at the semiconductors, see how the semiconductors are responding today. We got NVIDIA in positive territory. Looks like it's on its way to hit a new high here at 174.42, up just shy of 0.5%. Even Broadcom showing some momentum to the upside, up 1% here. TSM 245. AMD now up at 165. Astera Labs 121. This is a really good list of stocks here. Let's just scroll through some of these here. So Advantis Corp is now in overvalued territory. It was, you're getting some deals on it before. You can see we valued at 65, currently trading at 76. But otherwise, it's got rising earnings, price actions on the rise, strong buy rating. I still like the company here. We've got NVIDIA just rocking and rolling. It doesn't look like much is going to stop NVIDIA. It might just keep going up all the way into its earnings. I wouldn't be surprised if it took a little bit of a breather at some point, but we've seen it happen time and time again where NVIDIA likes to move to the upside before the earnings call. And you see now it's fully valued. 169 is our valuation, currently trading at 174, so it is about $5 higher than our valuation, right? So what was a great undervalued stock, probably one of the best buying opportunities of the year, just probably one of the safest for sure. You can see the stock went from just shy of $100 now up to $174. It's a huge move for NVIDIA. So again, not seeing any weakness here, so I'm not going to, tout on, protecting profits, anything like that. I'm just, whatever indicators you're looking at, whatever, you do like a 20-day EMA, whatever your stop is, let it ride out. I trust NVIDIA. What else we got here? Broadcom. Let's take a look at Broadcom here. Broadcom, look at that, hitting another new high. Big bullish candlestick today. Surpassing yesterday's candlestick here. 3 remains above the 8. Look at price action retesting this 20-day EMA. Nice pivot off of that just 2 trading sessions ago. That's a good opportunity presented here. All right. Let's take a look at Air Systems here. Air Systems, that's what I want to look at. The big gap up here, upper wick, 2 down days in a row. I can't get too excited here. I just want to see price action remain above the 3. Right now it's currently trading at $21.25. The 8-day moving average here coming in around $19. So it is a little bit of a, about 10% distance here. That's a nice, pretty stop. Nice little stop on there. Help you protect some of your profits as well. That 8-day is right at the beginning of that gap situation from the upside here. So if price action does make its way to that gap, it might be tempted to fill it, right? So depending on your objectives, if you're more of a short-term trader, I'd be more of the mindset of taking some profits before it gets tempted to fill the gap. But, we'll see how price action is. It's still above the 3-day, though, so I'm still optimistic when it comes to this position. Here's a nice rollover, Advanced Energy Industries. You can see the 3 cross below the 8 here, sitting right on this 20-day moving average. If we can get a good pivot come Monday or Tuesday, this could present itself a nice buying opportunities here. Nice buying opportunity. Let's scroll out here. We're going to go over to Stock Pick Ideas. We're going to go to some hot industries. I want to take a look at the steel stocks. I haven't done any videos on steel, at least recently, but they've been moving and rocking and rolling here. We got Carpenter Technology up 2%. Let's take a look at these stocks here. This is a top-rated steel stock in this industry. You can see it's now overvalued. We value the company at $224, currently trading at $278. You do get safety here. You do get some relative value. So strong fundamentals. But as far as a value play, it's not there. It does have nice, strong earnings, so I do like that. And we could see the price action trying to get back above that 20-day moving average there. Nice little bottom wick right at that level of support found. Actually, I like this. This could be setting up for a nice bullish trade setup here. We're getting some follow through with that as well. If you want some more confirmation, get that 3 back above the 8. I definitely want to see price action give me a close above the 20-day moving average. But this does look like a good position overall. Here's ATA. No reasons for concern here. Lower left, upper right, rising earnings, strong buy rating, still standing. I like it. NVIDIA, $4.5 trillion market cap. And I representing longtime holders of CRS. Amazing move. Yeah, CRS has been a hot stock recently. Here's Metallus. Again, lower left, upper right. We got the gap up. Upper wick filled the gap right away. 3 converging closer to the 8. The opportunity is not presenting itself right now, but I would like to see a pivot right at this level of support here. So I want to see this pivot sooner than later. Otherwise, it'd be getting more defensive. But if we look at the forecasted earnings per share, it is on the decline over the last 3 months. If we take a look at the value here, it is overvalued as well. We've only valued the stock at $14.11. Poor fundamentals, so keep that in mind. All right, let's take a look here. Go back to my... See what other hot industries we got here. We got machinery, ETFs, technology, ETFs, transportation. Let's do a premium watch list this time, actually. And let's go into Midas Touch. Midas Touch is going to give us some nice momentum plays, right? I want to, capture momentum right now with the market still moving to the upside. And this is a great list to do that. Up at the top, we got IESE, CLS, NVIDIA, EME, ISSC, TSM. Very well-known companies here. There's actually some great lists of companies. IESE, still look at this, still undervalued even after its big move from about $163 up to just over $300. We value the company at $462, so we still feel you're getting a good deal on this stock, generally speaking. We got buy rating, strong buy rating here. Look at the fundamentals, 1.62 on the value, RS, relative safety, 1.41. I like this stock a lot, actually. This is a nice stock here. Rising earnings as well. CLS, another great stock. You got rising earnings, rising price action. Yeah, if you want to wait for some kind of dip opportunity, see if we can get a nice pivot around the 20-day EMA. But if you're in it, hey, we still got a strong buy rating. We haven't seen a hold rating since before May on this stock. So it's not showing any signs of slowing down as of now. And look at the valuation, $161. So it has raced up right up to our valuation here. Currently trading at $167. We value it at 161. So the value is already, baked into the stock right now. Here's NVIDIA Corp. Again, great company. Lower left, upper right, strong buy rating. Earnings per share on the rise. Fundamentally, 1.63, 1.41 respectively. I like what I see here. Fully valued. NVIDIA was probably the value pick of the year when it was trading around $100, $120. If you wanted the confirmation, I've done a couple videos on that. Confirmation came around 123. But now, the stock I'm not worried about selling it, especially going before the earnings, because I've seen it time and time again where NVIDIA likes to tick up before earnings. But again, just stay disciplined, ride it out. In my opinion, as long as it stays above that 20-day EMA, as long as that buy rating holds, I'm not going to have too many concerns when it comes to NVIDIA right now. Here's EME Corp, MCore. Look at that big gap up. Before we jump into the chart here, so it's still undervalued, 762. I was talking about this just the other day. If I see a stock make a huge move, I feel much more comfortable if the stock is still undervalued after that huge move, right? I don't want to see a stock go up 200% and it's 10 times what we value the company at. That's dangerous, and I'm only going to stick to technicals. I'm not going to get emotionally attached to that kind of stock. That is a recipe for a portfolio disaster here. But look, fundamentally strong company here. This is another good one to have on your radar. Again, look at the big jump up here in price action. But we value the company over $700. So again, I like what I see here with this position. Yeah, if you don't want to jump into it now after the big gap up and jump up in this run, hey, I get it. Wait for a pullback. Wait for some kind of pivot if you were thinking about getting in this position. Otherwise, if you do get into it, put it on, some kind of stop that adjust to help capture momentum, help capture profits, such as, like a trailing stop. Or use something to manage the trade, like a 20-day EMA. Just something, keep in mind, because I don't like going into a high momentum or a stock that just made a big move with a poor plan. Nope, you got to have a good plan to do that. I do the same option trades with it as well. AGX also has a MACD cross happening today. Okay. MACDs are good crossover. I like MACD. I cannot lie. Here's ISSC, Innovation Solutions and Support. A common theme with these stocks, lower left, upper right, over the last 3 months. Now, we've got 5 trading days in a row, down days. So I'm not going to say jump into this. I'm actually be more inclined on, protecting profits at this point. We got the 20-day moving average just below there, a little bit of a threshold before we get there. See if we get some pivot off that. We did get a nice pivot. Oh. I'm trying to click this one. There we go. Nice pivot off that 20-day EMA. Follow through the next day. Now, if we do get some support here, I'd probably base it off of this swing high. The high is around 1458. Right now, the stock's trading around 1521. So if you're looking for, some dip opportunities, I'm probably going to say somewhere in here. It's from 1528 to about, 1428 to about 1472. Yeah, using alerts, Marvin, that's a great idea. You see a nice logical place where a stock might pivot, whether it's a 20-day EMA, support or something. Put an alert, so that way you don't have to watch it all the time. If the stock hits it, that price, you get an alert on your phone, right? And then you can see if the trade is making sense then, right? Don't just jump into it because you get the alert. Just make sure the trade makes sense before you jump in, right? Trade the chart, not your heart. All right, here we got Taiwan Semiconductor. I love Taiwan Semiconductor. This is a powerhouse AI stock. I've only talked about it probably a million times on this channel. This thing is just rocking and rolling. They're literally the reason why the United States is ahead of China right now when it comes to AI technology. Their manufacturing capabilities have just transformed NVIDIA and AMD into powerhouses. And now that has translated into contracts with some of the largest companies on the planet, such as Apple being one of them, right? Amazon being one of them. Everyone, the AI revolution, starts with ASML, Taiwan Semiconductor, the manufacturing companies. Obviously, carried through with NVIDIA. And then right behind that would probably be AMD, right? And obviously there's some other players in the list. But those are the main ones. And TSM is kind of the glue that holds it together. And that's honestly the reason why Taiwan is so important and valuable to us is this company right here. Here's Wilden Group, lower left, upper right. Beautiful chart, down day to day. No real pullbacks, looking for pivots here. But if you're in this position, again, just rock and roll. Let the stock make you some money here. Again, if you have objectives, if you've met your objectives, always stick to the plan that you had in place. But this stock I like it. I mean, it's a strong, there's not one hold rating, not one slither of a hold in the last 3 months. It's just showing momentum to the upside. And here's AMD. Again, another semiconductor stock, lower left, upper right. Now, what I like about AMD here, and it's a very similar story to Taiwan Semiconductor, but let's do a 6-month chart. Yeah, you see the earnings per share starting to turn around here. Obviously, those forecasts of restrictions to China and other things going on, hindering a lot of those forecasts. Nvidia was affected by that as well. But look at the turnaround earnings per share. I like that, and I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, TSM, same story, right? It's actually even surpassed where it was 6 months ago. So again, two great stocks here that are showing a turnaround story when it comes to their forecasted earnings per share. Here we've got Stratic Security Group. I like that. Look at that rising earnings. That earnings looks nice. A little bit of volatility in the middle. Picked up quickly afterwards. It's not as smooth as some of the other charts. We do have a nice retest here. There's the retest. A nice jump off that retest. If I'm looking for confirmation, I just want to take out the high where I'm at. The high yesterday was 66.34. I'd probably say 66.50 just to get some confirmation there. Maybe about 15 cents above the high there. That would be my play. And then obviously the next level of resistance would just come in at the prior swing high at $70. But still looks like a good stock. Here's Seagate Technology. Just another one rocking and rolling here. Look at this. Nice strong buy rating. Some choppiness in the first half of the chart here. Let's scroll back. STX. It is overvalued. Undervalued, I should say. 204.78, right? Now, even like I said, high momentum plays. Me personally, maybe I'm a little wuss, but I just feel more comfortable if the stock is undervalued if I'm going to jump into a high momentum position, right? Because, I don't do this, but if I do get stuck holding a bag, I want it at least to be a good bag and that bag to be undervalued. I don't want to be stuck in a poopy, overvalued bag, right? Don't want to do that. I like bags on a discount. John says, I run strategies on my watch list that looks at stocks, 20-day and stocks. Oh, yeah, going below the 20-day to above. We only have a few under the 20-day, and most are all over the 20-day. It takes a bit topiosity right now. You mean looks a bit topiosity? I could see it. I mean, I could definitely see the market taking a breather. The bulls have been running full throttle for a couple months now after the tariff turmoil. So we'll see. I cannot chase stocks off a base unless I'm adding to a position. Yes, I could do that. But yeah, I do like base stocks. Not gonna lie there. Here's Kratos Defense. This has been a popular one, trading at $59. Look how overvalued it is. Defense stocks in general are getting definitely on the overvalued side. It's a saturated space to be in right now. A lot of investors have poured into this. Yeah, John, I thought you said looks. But again, the momentum is there. I'm going to go more off the technicals at this point when it comes to a lot of these defense companies rather than the fundamentals because, they have essentially turned into momentum plays and a lot of high momentum there. And I don't want you to lose your profits. So again, just stay disciplined. Simple things like a trailing stop, 20-day EMA, something to manage the trade, right? Because the last thing I want is you to have a stock up 50, 60%, because you got into it, off the bottom there a couple months ago. And then if the market does roll over, you see all your profits roll away, right? I don't want to see that. So again, even a trend line. I know Glenn was adamant about trend line, and so am I. As long as you're disciplined, hey, a trend line works really good. It's very simple, right? You just draw the trend line, and just make sure the trend line is at a threshold of pain point that you can live with, right? If the trend line is 60 or 40% below where the stock's currently trading at, well, that's probably not the one to have, right? So just, use some good judgments, but definitely take a look. Shop looks good, but earnings are out soon. Yeah, I don't like to buy stocks right before earnings. Maybe a week or maybe a couple weeks before, if the stock goes up, I got me a little buffer zone, but I don't like to just jump into a random stock, the day of earnings with no buffer zone, if the trade goes against me. So I like to, personally, and if I do buy a stock, I'm at least going to get 100 shares of it so I can sell, an option, and at least collect some kind of premium, so that way to help offset some of my losses of that position I would have just opened up. But again, it's not something I necessarily do. Not saying it's bad, it's not something I typically do, because earnings can be quite the guessing game. Here we got Palantir, 2 times leverage. Not too surprised. SMCI's in the Midas Touch list now as well. So definitely take advantage of this Midas Touch list. You can see a lot of stocks here. And if you want to focus on safety, I like safety in Midas Touch because you already got the momentum there. We already know it's momentum. And with momentum means volatility, right? Volatility can be a little dangerous. So I'd rather have safe Midas Touch stocks than not so safe. And you can see the list changed up quite a bit. There's definitely some new names on the list here. We got Vive at the top. Unless I have a 5 to 10% gain, I will exit that position or buy a put for a 2 times implied volatility move. Yeah, so I'm saying, unless I got a cushion, I'm not just going to hold into earnings and just see what happens. That just doesn't seem like a good idea to me. But John, like you said, if you are going to do it, get some premium, because stocks have a lot more IV, implied volatility, going into earnings. What that means is you get more money for the premium. The premiums are expensive. You know me, I day trade options. I stay away from stocks or even the market if there's just a big move, because I'm not the seller, I'm the buyer when I day trade. And I don't like overpaying for my options. So when the market's really volatile, I'll take a break. I won't be trading then, right? Well, right now I haven't been trading a lot just because I'm doing all the videos in Glenn's absence. So that's why you haven't seen many, day trading videos. I do want to do another one, trust me. I just got to get the time to do it. But yeah, that being said, just know how implied volatility can affect premiums. And typically, if you're going to be a seller of options, doing it right before earnings is a good way to make some money, especially if you're not planning on selling the stock, right? Worst case scenario, if you sell a call against it and it shoots up, hits your strike price, hey, you made some money on the stock, right? Worst case scenario, if the stock's flat or drops, hey, you're still holding the stock, but yet you just made some money because that premium, you can buy back the call whenever, but you just made some money that way off that stock, right? Appreciate you captaining the ship on the daily, Ryan. Thank you, Newman. You know me, I'm typically not the captain. I just get my oar and row. Did you guys see the video that went viral of the kid on top of the rowing boat, doing his little dance? I made a short with him on it. It was pretty funny. Right after I made that short with him on it, I think it was July 4th weekend, that video just went crazy. It's everywhere now. Ryan, some of us can't buy 100 shares. Yeah, Marvin, I know that. And I mean, that's just a decision that you have to, calculate. Everyone's got a different, portfolio size, right? We all got different portfolio size. Like NVIDIA, I'm not going to be able to buy 100 shares of that before earnings and just sell a call. No. But the market gives us opportunities because there's low-cost ETFs on some of these big cap names, right? So even if you don't own 100 shares of NVIDIA or 100 shares of Broadcom at, a couple $100, not a lot of us have money like that just to be throwing around. I get it. Look at ETFs. There's cheaper options. Maybe you can get $100. I think there was like a cheap AMD one. Maybe I should do a video on that. I know Glenn did one, but God, that was probably like 9 months ago. I think when they first started doing all these like AMD and Palantir, NVIDIA, ETFs. So yeah, if you can't afford any of that, it's probably just, better you don't buy a stock right before earnings, right? Wait till after earnings. See what the company has to say. See if they give some good guidance and then make the decision on buying the company. And then you got 3 months or a quarter to wait till the next earnings, right? And hopefully the stock went up. So that way you got a little buffer zone, little cushion zone, right? Hi, Ryan. It's been a while. Hope all is well with everyone. Hey, SF. It has been a while. Everything's going good here. I don't know. I'll just make the announcement since it's about halfway through. But if you do want to support Glenn, just making this announcement at the earlier of this live stream, there's a website, a link here. Clay, maybe just throw it in the chat one more time. It's just vectorvest.com/Glenn. We worked with his family to make a GoFundMe account. Again, from the stroke he suffered in June. And he's currently in a rehabilitation center right now, just, working on his strength.
Let him know it's pinned to the chat.
Oh, it's pinned to the chat. Okay. Clay, we got Clay in the background today. It's pinned to the top of the chat, right?
Yep.
So it'll be the first thing you see in the chat box will be that. Melly, for one contract, you need to have 230,000 in stocks. Ouch. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. VST Mighty Might scan. Ooh, that's a good one as well. All right, well, we only got about 20 minutes left. I've showed you some good fish, especially the Midas Touch. Midas Touch was a really good one here. So let's go, because I got, so I might end this a couple minutes early today, just because I had the strategy of the week presentation, the weekly presentation we do here. Great video, actually. It was an idea that I got from Jerry. I watched one of his videos back in 2022. It's on divergences, bullish, bearish divergences. And there's actually one at the very end that's happening now in a space that many of you are probably owned positions in. So I'm going to go work on that. And then we got the power hour at 2. But before we do that, I want to get your stock picks though. So let's go ahead and create a watch list. I'll give you 30 seconds. Hit the like button. Depends how many likes we get, and then we will base it off of that many stocks. GEV, yeah, that one's been a good stock lately as well. What do you know about Figma? Matt, what Figma is the name of the stock? I've never heard of it. All right. So give everyone about 30 seconds here. Where are we at with the likes? 3. All right. Slack it on the likes. You get 5 stocks today. 5 stocks starting right now. So we got FTI, HEMS. Ooh, Soxel. That's a good one. That's a triple leverage ETF there. Hold up. I gotta scroll back up. All right, after Soxel, it was PGR and FIX. Okay, PGR, FIX. We'll do July 25th. All right, here's the watch list here. All right, all these stocks out of the gate got a VST above 1. 2 out of the 5 are in positive territory today. Look at FIX up 20% right now. Whew. You can see it started to fade, but now it's back up, trading at session highs. Let's take a look at this one. All right, so the stock right now is 683. So with the gap up, the stock is now overvalued. The stock was undervalued before the gap up. I see a little bit of wick at the top. Not saying it can't keep going, but I'm not necessarily comfortable buying it after the gap up because now it's in overvalued territory. If you're in it, hey, look at today's low. That would kind of be my threshold of pain if I'm more of a swing term active trader. And what is the news? Is it earnings, I imagine? What's making this company jump right now? If we look at the fundamentals, strong fundamentals here, 1.51, 1.44, and the forecasted earnings per share. Again, this is the leading 12-month forecast. That is about as nice as the earnings per share you're going to get. Fitz says it was earnings. All right, so I imagine they beat both top and bottom. Probably gave some good guidance. The stock is up quite a bit here, but I like it. If you're in it, hey, you're sitting pretty right now. Wouldn't be too concerned about it. See what happens. I got an upper wick and I got a lower wick here. See where the bulls or the bears take it. If price action surpasses the current high of today, let it ride out a little bit. If we start losing ground, hey, I don't want you to, lose all your profits, especially if it's just a quick swing trade. But right now, just look at the high and low of today's candlestick. If we get a breakout either way, that's how I'm going to play that position. But overall, it looks like a good stock here. Let's just see. There's the wick, the upper and lower. 25% earnings beat. Nice. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Pretty channeling. We can see the momentum coming out of this morning. We're approaching session highs. So again, see where the market takes this stock here. But I'm going to base it off of today's high and low to see where the momentum's at, right? But if it looks like they beat 25% on 25% earnings beat, it looks like there's some optimism when it comes to stock or the company in general. So I wouldn't be in too much of a rush to sell it, especially if I was more of an investor of this position. Here is HIMS. HIMS looks really good right now. We see the stop price. It looks like it find a level of support right at our stop price here. You see the company overvalued right now. We only valued at $22.64. Stock's currently trading at $57.40. Fundamentally, it does have good fundamentals. RV is 1.57. That's another thing I like. If I get into an overvalued company, I would still prefer a high RV. And this RV right now is at 1.57. Safety rating 1.16. So you are getting a little bit of safety here when it comes to this position right now. Here we've got Soxel. This is the triple leverage ETF on semiconductors, right? So if you like semiconductors, especially if you like to swing trade semiconductors, or I'm going to tell you this right now. You're talking about you can't afford 100 shares of NVIDIA. This right here, the premiums will go up on this. The implied volatility, again, I don't have a crystal ball, but if I was a betting man, the implied volatility on this will go up going into right before probably AMD's earnings, right before NVIDIA's earnings. So if you want to, play, I'm just using this as an example because we talked about NVIDIA not being affordable for a lot of people. This is one of those ETFs. Otherwise, like you said, I'm probably going to put together, cheaper ways to play some of these stocks through. Yeah, so yeah, that's what I'm saying, Alex. Yeah, definitely probably better off with NVDL or NVDX or, like an AMD ETF kind of thing. But this is a good way to, or actually, if you don't like options, this is a good way to play semiconductor space if you want to leverage it. So if you want a little bit more bang for your buck and you're not quite comfortable with options, this is a good way to play. Again, it's triple leverage. So just as, it can help you, it can also hurt you 3 times as fast, right? So just keep that in mind. So if you don't like volatility, it's probably not for you. Here's SOXL right now. Let's take a look at the 3-month. Look at that. That's interesting. We see found a level support. A nice retest right here. But look, we broke it. All of the price action is actually below the 20-day moving average, and the 3 is below the 8. So this actually shows me a little bit of concern when it comes to semiconductors right now. So again, just keep that in mind if you're holding semiconductors. This is painting a little bit of a bearish picture, right? Am I ready to give up on semiconductors? No, just because we're right at a level of support here, and we can find a nice pivot, especially with some good data coming out next week. Again, we've got big economic data. We've got interest rate decision. We've got second quarter GDP data. It's going to let us know if we're in a recession. And we've got 4 out of the top Mag 7 stocks reporting next week. So this could definitely make or break the semiconductors. Here we've got FTI. Big bullish candlestick yesterday, approached a new high today, upper wick, giving that up. We're actually approaching more of the session lows right now. If I go to 1-day chart, you can see we're closer to the session lows. But look, we still got a buy rating here. Oh, look at this, though. Even with the big jump up, it's still undervalued, $53.58. We do get some value here as well. RV, 1.46. Now, where it lags is going to be the safety, right? Only at 0.89. So just keep that in mind. But this right now, I definitely like how this stock is setting up. It's got the rising earnings here. And price action is getting closer and closer to our valuation. Here's PGR, or Progressive. Now, Progressive, I see a retest at this 20-day from the bottom. What happened here? Before we actually look at that, undervalued 416. It's trading at 251. That's a great valuation for this insurance company. Relative value 1.6. Great. Relative safety 1.44. Ooh, I like it. I like it. Rising earnings. This is, why does it keep giving me this one? There we go. Now, what's wrong with this? What do you see here? What's happening right now? We broke the 20-day, right? Before we're using as level support. Now, look at this. Retest from the bottom. Rejection. Retesting it now. The 3 just across above the 8. I do like that optimism. But I want to see some confirmation here because this could easily turn into a bull trap scenario and just get a retest and go down even further, right? So this being said, I want to see price action get back above that 20-day moving average. If you did some bottom fishing on this progressive stock, I want to see it get back above that 20-day moving average before I get any kind of, inclination to go bottom fishing here. I do like the rising earnings. I like that it's undervalued. I like the RV. But again, it's in a downtrend right now, and I want to see more confirmation. I hate for you to just jump in this stock right at a potential rejection on that 20-day moving average. See what happens. Either, the rejection will come to fruition, or if we get the confirmation, make, your decision based off that confirmation. But I do like this stock as far as at least, a potential dip here. But right now, I need a little more confirmation to make sure I can get, behind this dip, right? All right, everybody. It's 12:50. We got about 10 minutes. So, again, I said we're going to wrap this up a little early. Tonight's presentation, I did talk about the strategy of the week. That'll be on the bullish and bearish divergences. Definitely, and I even did a little exercise with you guys at the end on a industry, sector that you're very familiar with, that many of you may hold. So if you want some insight on which sector is showing that bearish divergence right now, definitely check out that video. Otherwise, the regular programming at 6 p.m. It's going to be on 5 growth stocks. The reason why I'm choosing growth stocks is because of the potential interest rate cut next week, right? I'm not saying go buy them right now. I'm not saying go buy them Monday. I'm saying wait for the dust to settle from all the data and all the earnings next week and then make the decisions. But when I looked at these 5 stocks, they looked really good, showed some good chart patterns, and just, the VectorVest indicators. They actually have some of the highest growth rate earnings in the database and some of the sales growth rate. And some of these names you might be familiar with. One of them is A-Lab. So if you like A-Lab, you're definitely going to want to check out the other 4 stocks. All right, on that note, is there a power hour today? There is a power hour in the community room today. Yes. And then, while we're talking about this, the power hour is being moved to Fridays. I think the first one's going to be next Friday. So instead of Wednesdays, we're just going to simulcast the YouTube version. So the YouTube and the community room will now be at the same time at 2 p.m. on Fridays. Thank you, Meow. Appreciate that, Kiwi, for reminding me to give that announcement. So just again, power hour is going to be on Fridays, 2 p.m. every other Friday on YouTube, every Friday in the community room. All right, everybody, on that note, enjoy your weekend. And make sure you say a blessing for Glenn, okay? Everyone have a great afternoon. Good luck trading to you, and we'll catch up next week. Take care, guys. Bye.